Welcome back to another episode of What About Us, the podcast where we shine light on the topic of eating disorders among communities of color. This is your host, Melina Arroyo, and today's episode is going to be a bit different than usual. There will be no special guest today. It's just going to be me. Recently, I've been reflecting on a very dark time in my life where my body was all I could think about. Every second of every day was spent fixating on every single part of my body. My arms, my face, my stomach, my thighs, my hands. Even my fingers were at the forefront of my mind. Body dysmorphia is silent but deadly. It lingers and it shows up unexpectedly. Today, I gave you a little look into what it's like living with body dysmorphia. For starters, let's define what body dysmorphia is. According to the Mayo Clinic, body dysmorphic disorder is a mental health condition in which you can't stop thinking about one or more perceived defects or flaws in your appearance. A flaw that appears minor or can't be seen by others. Individuals with BDD usually engage in behaviors to fix or hide perceived flaws, such as checking the mirror, grooming, skin picking, and wearing baggy clothing. Other symptoms include avoiding social situations, having perfectionist tendencies, constantly comparing appearance with others, and having a strong belief that others notice their flaws or mock them, as well as intrusive, negative thoughts about appearance that can lead to suicidal ideation or self-harm. Once again, this is information from the Mayo Clinic, and it's just kind of a formal definition of what BDD is and what the symptoms usually are. So from hearing all of this, a lot of people may think, well, this just sounds like negative body image and self-esteem issues. It may seem that way from the surface, but when unveiling the layers of BDD, you'll realize that it's actually quite different. The main distinction I want to make between bad body image and body dysmorphia is that body dysmorphia causes significant distress and disruption to everyday life and functioning. BDD causes a compulsive obsession over perceived flaws that become so incredibly time-consuming, it can take complete control of your life. It's normal to have moments of body dissatisfaction. Everyone has those days where they don't feel as confident. But what I want to emphasize and make clear is that BDD is constant. Imagine that your brain was turned on 24/7. No breaks, no moment of silence. All you can hear is a faint voice reminding you to get up and go check yourself in the mirror, to pinch that bit of fat on your stomach, to weigh yourself for the 30th time today, to stay home and avoid hanging out with your friends because what if they point out your flaws? What if they think you're ugly and realize that they don't want to be your friend anymore? Body dysmorphia is very common among individuals who have eating disorders of any kind. Eating disorders may manifest from BDD as a control mechanism to fix flaws and gain a sense of completeness and control. I want to emphasize that the BDD experience is different for everyone, and there's not just one universal experience. What I'm going to talk to you about today are just my thoughts and kind of the way that I understand BDD in my own head and based on my personal experience. It's 2025, I'm in my second year of college, and honestly, I feel pretty great. Since starting college, I've gained a new sense of self-confidence. A good example is this right here, creating this podcast and just expressing myself through various art forms. I've grown so much, but one little hiccup and challenge that I still struggle with is social and physical comparison. Being surrounded by so many people here on campus ignites that comparison voice in my head. I'm a very hyper-aware person. I'm hyper-aware of the people around me, of myself, of the environment I'm in, and the dynamics that are visible in a specific environment. I talk to myself constantly in my head, and to be honest, I don't know if there's ever a time where my mind is completely silent. Spring term is always around the time my body dysmorphia amps up. I envy those people who can wear shorts, skirts, tank tops, tube tops, and two-piece bathing suits. I envy them because they have something that I don't have, but I wish I did. Is it confidence? Is it a thin body? Or is it just the ability to wake up in the morning, put on clothes that make me feel good, and not have to think twice about it before walking out the door? The thing with BDD is that it creates a distorted and untrue version of yourself in your head. It's imaginary, but it feels so real. Logically, I know that the way I see myself is not how others see me. But that mentality doesn't work for me. Because being so real with y'all, I don't really know what I look like. It's always different. That probably sounds a bit weird or confusing, but it's true. Here's a short rundown of what I see through my eyes. When I look in the mirror, the first thing I notice is my face. My features look lopsided, my nose is 2 times bigger than it actually is, my eyes are small and kind of close together, my smile is crooked, my teeth are huge, and my cheeks are chubby. I have some dark facial pigmentation on my chin, and my family knows that this is something that I'm super insecure about, and I've tried to get rid of it by using creams and other products in the past. But now I cover it up with makeup because it's super noticeable to me. It looks like a huge brown spot right on my chin. I've been told by people that it's not noticeable, but in my eyes, it's all I can see. Literally, the first thing I notice is my hyperpigmentation. In my head, I'm a size extra large, despite actually being a medium. I will always buy clothes for myself that are 2 sizes too big because I refuse to believe that I'm smaller than I imagine myself to be. In my head, I weigh about 50 to 60 pounds more than I actually do. I could weigh 120 pounds and see 180 pounds instead. I could weigh 150 and see 200 pounds instead. It's actually funny because my friend recently took a picture of me. It literally took me a second to realize that that was me in the picture. I remember telling her, "Oh my god, why do I look like that? My legs look like sticks." It was so weird to see my real self in that photo, and how different it is to the idea that I have in my head. My real legs looked so unnatural. My body in that picture looked like it was not me, but it was me. It's just different from the idea I have of myself in my head. My body looks disfigured, inverted, and asymmetrical. I still struggle to wrap my head around all of this. It's so hard to describe because I feel like I'm just confusing people instead. The best thing I can say is that my own eyes deceive me. I used to feel like I was hallucinating. I would stand in front of the mirror for so long just staring at myself, hoping that my body would change right in front of me. But the more I looked, the worse the reflection got. There was a time where I would look at myself in the mirror probably around 80 times a day. And I'm not exaggerating. It was horrible. BDD takes so much from your life. Like I said before, it's silent but deadly. It's an invisible condition, and you can't tell if someone has it unless they tell you. It drives you to insanity. At least for me it did. In the book, Face to Face with Body Dysmorphic Disorder, author Ari M. Winograd encapsulates the experience of BDD. Winograd says, "Imagine experiencing pervasive and perpetual sensations of dread and shame, the sort of visceral response you might have when your body reacts to a physical threat. Envision how distressing it would be if you experienced these same exact feelings after viewing yourself in a reflective surface or a photograph. Imagine what it might be like if your body was a source of extreme feelings of anger, disgust, anxiety, fear, and hopelessness. Try to visualize how it might be if viewing your outward appearance triggered a reaction usually associated with a perilous situation, and how disconcerting it would be if every time you looked at yourself, you experienced primal feelings of terror. If you have not had such an experience, it is probably quite difficult to comprehend. This, though, is a very tormenting reality for individuals who suffer from BDD." I look back to around 2021 and reflect on how my BDD had such a powerful hold onto my life. My body was the center of my world. Although I have grown so much within these past, few years and have learned how to challenge my internal thoughts, my BDD still lingers. It gets triggered by the smallest things: mirrors, windows, old photographs, revealing clothing, and even the sound of my own voice. A life with body dysmorphia is one where you are in a never-ending battle with yourself. One where your body is a prison. I used to cry at the reflection in the mirror. My body made no sense at all. It felt like I was wearing a Halloween costume 24/7. An itchy, uncomfortable, tight, cheap costume. I ask myself, what does Maylene look like? I honestly don't have the answer to that, and the scary part is, I don't know if I ever will. Thank you so much for listening to episode 3, A Glimpse into a Life with Body Dysmorphia. Subscribe to my Spotify and YouTube to stay updated with future episodes. And don't forget to check out the previous episodes, What About Maggie and What About Annika. Let's continue to change the ED narrative. Your host Maylene, signing off.